Where the geology is best is on cratons. Cratons are very ancient, old pieces of crust which are found in unique localities across the world. They can be found in northeast Siberia, they can be found on the Slave in northern Canada, they can be found in parts of South America, India, Australia, Central Africa, West Africa, and of course Southern Africa, where Botswana Diamonds is based. And Botswana Diamonds is very firmly based on what they call the Karpval Craton, which we believe to be one of the most prospective cratons in the world, and is also host to the most prolific diamond producers in the world too. A lot of geological research has gone in behind finding out where these cratons actually are, and it's a fairly well studied body of literature to define exactly where those cratons are, and diamond deposits tend to form in the middle or towards the edges of those cratons themselves. It is significant. If one looks at the statistics behind diamonds themselves, there are 6,000 kimberlites in the world, or thereabouts, and kimberlites are the host rock to diamonds, essentially magma which has come from deep within the Earth's mantle or at the bottom of the crust itself. Out of those 6,000 kimberlites, you have 600 or so which contain diamonds, of which 60 have been or are mines themselves. So what Botswana Diamonds does, it does two things. Firstly, it focuses very much on areas of current production and then uses new technology to see what additional commercial opportunities there are in the vicinity of current mines. And probably the best example of that was the AK6 discovery, which was done by African Diamonds, which in the late 60s was seen as being small and marginal, and now we know it is the wonderful Karowe mine. And that was rediscovered, for want of a better word, by looking through the lens of new technology, particularly ground geophysics and particular rotary air flood large diameter drilling itself. So our primary focus is on areas of current production, looking within those particular kimberlite clusters. And if I can actually quote my chairman here, the best place to find a mine is where there are already mines. And then, of course, we also have some grassroots exploration, particularly in the Kalahari of Botswana, where there is already the GEMS Gargu project and Petrodiamonds' KX36 project, which is a new frontier for diamond discovery. The three countries in which Botswana Diamonds operates, being Zimbabwe, Botswana and South Africa, obviously all have very different political risk regimes, notwithstanding the fact that we believe all three of them are equally prospective. From a Botswana perspective, people call it the Switzerland of Africa. It's a very safe place to work, the rule of law is very clear, the conversion from a prospecting right to a mining right is very, very clear. But the opposite of that is quite true as well, in that there is intense competition in Botswana and people have looked at the same project time and time again. So it's very, very important that we try different things, use new technology to see if we can find any commercial discoveries. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe opened up for business in the middle of last year when Mnangagwa took over from Mugabe, and is gradually opening up for business. We announced our joint venture with Vast Resources earlier in this year, and we're very optimistic that the country will continue to embrace overseas investment and development for the good of shareholders and for the country. And in the middle, you've got South Africa. South Africa, of course, went through a very peaceful change in 1994, and Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk heralded that change. And we've gone through a bit of a rocky road over the past few years, but now under the new leadership of Cyril Ramaphosa and the mining minister Gwede Mantashe, and the advent of the new mining charter, we're very optimistic that South Africa is on the growth trajectory. And in fact, we were probably the first new entrant back into South Africa from a diamond exploration perspective, and closely followed by De Beers. The model that Botswana Diamonds follows is actually quite a virtual model. We have very little overhead, we have very little fixed infrastructure. I, for example, work from a home office. But what I'm very blessed with, having spent over 30 years in the diamond industry, is a wide array of highly competent consultants, advisors, and contractors. So, for example, if I want to go and have a look on a technical economic study or a pre-feasibility study, I use a firm called Paradigm Project Management, which is probably built in the order of 20 or more diamond mines themselves. And these are people who are deeply experienced in the areas of engineering and metallurgy. From a metallurgical perspective, I use a company called Metal Dog, and they were the people who created this groundbreaking thinking and technology to drive down the De Beers $380 million capital expenditure to $120 million or thereabouts on AK6, which is now the Karowe mine. And then from an exploration perspective, we have Lilesh Lachman Singh, an ex-De Beers exploration geologist who works with us in South Africa, a very fine explorer. In Botswana, we've got Ben Masiki, again an ex-De Beers person who has worked across Botswana for many, many years. And in Zimbabwe, our newest country, we're partnered with Vast Resources PLC, where again we've got deep, deep country knowledge and local knowledge of the kimberlites themselves. The role of the current explorer is a multifaceted one. You obviously have to be fully up to steam with all the elements of technology. You have to be very well networked to find out the best people in the business to do your particular work. And importantly, and this is quite an interesting point, is not just looking at technology, not just looking at the people themselves, but you have to have a complete understanding of the historical context of why discoveries were potentially not put into mines. And if I could use an example, is that our colleagues in Vitomi Mining Pty Limited in South Africa rediscovered 8 kimberlites in the Free State of the country, which were last mined in the 1880s, 140 or so years ago, and have long been forgotten. And these were discovered in the archives, the historical archives in Kimberley and Bloemfontein. So the role of the modern day explorer is every day is different, but you have to basically look at new technology, look at new frontiers of historical information, look at the context and actually piece it all together. And lastly, but really importantly, when you do your field work, you have to be out there supervising and making sure it's done absolutely 100%. We select partners in a country which share our values, share our corporate ethics, and share our approach to bringing forward commercial production in an extremely cost-effective way. If we look at the partners we have in Vast Resources PLC, for example, in Zimbabwe, we've worked very, very closely with them, and we've announced that we are working with them on the heritage concession in the Marangi area, and we've also announced that we're working with them to develop other corporate opportunities in Zimbabwe. In South Africa, we've partnered with Vitomi Mining Pty Limited, who have got deep country skills as well as deep technical skills. And then in Botswana, we've partnered with Alrosa, but sadly that partnership is now finished, and we're in very advanced discussions with a new major producer who shares our vision of the potential commerciality of projects in Botswana. I think there are three in a way, because one of the things that Botswana Diamonds has, it has a portfolio of projects going from grassroots exploration all the way through advanced projects, and also spanning 3 different countries, although they are chiefly on the same geological rock unit, which is the Karpval Craton. In Botswana, we're very excited about our Maibri joint venture, which had extraordinary micro-diamond counts, and a prospectus has been written with a view to BCL, who are currently in liquidation, exiting that project. We're equally excited about bringing on a new partner on board in the Sunland Minerals joint venture. And then going to Zimbabwe, we're enormously excited about the development of the Marangi concession, the heritage concession in Marangi. And I was there about 3 weeks ago, and we mapped out the kind of work that we actually need to do there. And in South Africa, we've got 2 major focuses of work. Firstly, in the development of the rediscovered Free State kimberlite diamond field, and very importantly on our Thorny River project, where we signed a royalty mining agreement which will start to bring Vitomi Mining and through to them Botswana Diamonds cash, and also delivering an inferred and then an indicated resource at very little cost, if any, to shareholders. It does to some extent. London has always been the home for money that goes into primary exploration, the high risk money. Sadly, the stock exchanges in Africa, be it the Johannesburg Stock Exchange or the Botswana Stock Exchange, chiefly only start to bring in investors at the bankable feasibility study level. So London is a core component of that because they understand risk and exploration, and they also understand Africa, and I think that's really important. However, it is equally important to be listed on the local stock exchanges where you work, to give the opportunity for local investors to come in, because we do have some who come in at the high risk stage, but as we develop our projects down the pipeline, we will be able to attract more and more investors into our stock on the local stock exchanges. Our main focus in 2019 is going to firmly kick off with Thorney River, where we will start with our intensification drilling, rapidly leading on to the royalty mining project. Later in the year, in the winter, which is your summer here in London, we're looking to drill the Free State kimberlites. Then in Botswana, we will hopefully announce a new partner and get cracking on with the Sunland Minerals joint venture. And with Maibwe, we hope that the prospectus and the sale process around BCL will be concluded. And then, of course, we would like to move on to do geological mapping, drilling, and then hopefully bulk sampling on the Morangi concession in Zimbabwe.